Greetings and welcome to...
The Angry Dome.
I guess it's time for another rant from my end because I'm getting sick and tired of this shit. So, of course, since the recent emergence of AI penetrating pretty much every aspect of our lives, it seems like there's more and more people who feel like we need to turn everything over to it. Become even further slaves to the algorithms in many different ways. Now, I'm here to make a point as to why this incredible tool can be used for good if it's used responsibly. I also use AI-generated art from royalty-free pictures, which I then put in my books. So from that aspect, it's a great tool to have, but this idea that we should put everything in its hands, even what I'm going to talk about here today, which is game mastering, is completely and utterly asinine. And I will explain why. First off, human game masters are one of the main points of the tabletop RPG hobby. Why? Because they're adaptable, they can be reasonable. When it comes to rulings, they can basically craft an adventure from their minds, which means they're very flexible in what they make. They know what their players like. They can adapt certain things to their likings. There's just a numerous amount of benefits to why you would have an actual human game master. Because a good GM makes the dice control them, not the other way around. The dice tell the story, not the GM. And they can truly make an experience that the players can't really get in any sort of other medium. You can't get it from a book because everything in the book is already laid out. It's already a story that goes from A to B, and everything in the middle is already, everything's set in stone. You're just reading the summary, basically. Whereas in tabletop RPGs, the whole point is that you have a character in a story that's carving their own path. But that path is, of course, modified by dice rolls, which is that nice little random element of randomness that makes things unpredictable, makes them more fun, makes them more interesting, and really makes it a unique experience. That's what's so cool about this hobby, is because of that aspect. Now, I know why certain people want to put game mastering into the hands of AI, because they've probably been under the yoke of GMs who abuse their quote-unquote power. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's only asshole GMs. Trust me, I've met my share. I've even done mistakes which could be considered in that category as a GM, which I'm not proud of. But, we all improve, we all make stuff better if we're aware of the mistakes we make. So, throwing the whole GM sort of role into the hands of the AI, just because some people had a bad experience with their GMs is, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It shouldn't demonize the role itself. It should just demonize the people who are bad at that role. Because I can do the same argument for players, and boy, can I make that argument. It would be a whole other video, and it'll be really fucking long, of how many asshole players I had to deal with over the years. Like, you would run out of pages if I had to run this shit down. Okay? Now, what am I gonna do? Play with computer fucking players? AI players? How fucking retarded is that? This whole idea of turning in game mastering to an AI is just turning everything into a video game. Now, I don't hate video games, I play them myself. But the whole fucking point is that the tabletop is not a video game. The whole fucking point is that you can do things in it you cannot ever do in a video game. And people say, oh, but the AI is improving so much. It's getting better and better every day. And it's going, sooner or later it'll be as good as a real GM. Fuck you. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. It might come close, it might be an approximation, but that's all it will ever be. It will be an approximation. Just like when you play a computer RPG, which, you know, you could argue that basically the whole game is run by an unseen computer GM. It's not really, but, you know, you could kind of make that argument. That's already made. It's called a computer RPG. Just go and play that. If you don't want to do proper tabletop RPGs, just go and play the computer versions. Just go and play that. You clearly want that, not your own customized experience that you can get in a tabletop. And nobody can customize it the way a human can. I can guarantee you this. Like, put me aside any fucking AI GM, I will blow it out of the water. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying. It can't compete. Like, this isn't chess. Like, you can use an AI in chess, and you can and you can say, oh, the best chess players in the world get outplayed by a computer AI, a computer chess player, right? A computer opponent. But that's chess. It's a very, I'm not gonna say simple game, because obviously it's not simple, but it is simple in the sense that it's not multi-dimensional like a tabletop RPG is, right? Because in the tabletop RPG, you don't have only rules, you also have a setting, and then you have the biggest draw, which is, in my view, improvisation. In a video game like environment, you'll always have a massive limiter to that improvisation, which is the coding of the game itself. Now you could say, oh, well, maybe the AI will be able to, override that code and come up and adjust it, so it can kind of break its own rules and whatever. If that ever happens, go into a bunker and seal yourselves in. Because that's fucking Skynet level, okay? The moment AI starts breaking its own rules of its own coding, we should all be shitting our pants, okay? That's not something we want. I mean, just take a look at Terminator and a couple of other movies that have basically prophesized this dystopian hellscape where AI becomes self-aware, and you'll see what I mean. So, that should never happen. Another good reason why an AI game master should never be a thing is very obvious, and this is going to resonate with a lot of people, because the tabletop game is a social game. It has the social aspect, right? It's you sitting behind a table with your friends, okay? It's not just 4 friends sitting behind a table and then the computer's playing the game for you, basically. It's the social aspect of being able to run a game with your friends, because a game master, like I described in my Ultimate GM's guide, you can check it out if you want. I've basically described what a GM actually is, and that is a player that's also sort of the referee and the adjudicator of the rules. But they're also playing the game. They're not just observing. They're also playing the game, okay? It should also be fun for them. And again, if you've dealt with asshole GMs, that's not a reason to get rid of this. And if you get rid of this aspect, not only will you have a shittier game, you'll also be just basically exercising a person from your group, which is bound to happen, because then why wouldn't all the groups that have like actual active GMs just go up to them and say, we're actually playing with an AI GM now, so you can join in as the player, or we don't need you anymore. That's basically gonna happen. And then if they join as the what if they don't want to join as the player? What if they like creating their own worlds? What if they like making their own adventures and seeing how the players tackle them and all that stuff? You know what I mean? It's going to basically leave a whole ton of people high and dry. And So basically what it comes down to is there is this conceited effort to erode more and more control from the GM, because it's like this sort of this idea that the GM is some sort of, you know, patriarch or matriarch behind the table that has ultimate control, and you're all just slaves under his command. Again, you were dealing with some asshole GMs if that's the case. And there's a lot of them out there, I know. But this whole idea is just to erode more and more power from them until, you know, they just get rid of them completely, which is what WotC and D&D is trying to do. I'm assuming, you know, once they pull their little niche of gamers into this video game hellscape tabletop version, who knows? A lot of people say that it's a nail in the coffin. I kind of tend to disagree, because I think there's a lot of fanatics out there in the hobby right now that are just gonna go with whatever WotC does. Because it's just, I don't know, it's just diehard loyalty, I guess. And you know, so this whole idea is proposed by gamers who want to turn tabletop into a video game, and it's mostly proposed by story players, and we all know those. They're not what they don't play in a game that supports what's called emergent gameplay. They support games that basically ignore a lot of the rules, ignore a lot of the dice rolls, they fudge rolls all the time, everything so that they can serve the story, because these people think they're playing in a novel, which they're not. But hey, you know, if you want to play that way, you're free to do it. I'm not gonna jump in and tell you how to play. But this idea that the GM is obsolete or unneeded, or, you know, is a bygone role in the hobby is not only asinine, it's gonna destroy the hobby. If it keeps going, if these assholes get their thing, it's going to destroy the hobby. Because it won't be a tabletop RPG anymore. I'm sorry, it won't be. You have solo tabletop RPGs. I'm aware of this. I have my own thoughts about that, but, you know, if you want to play solitaire, be my guest. Just don't fucking do this as a new trend for the entire hobby. Because this is, not only will you have a much shittier experience, you're going to give more and more power to this AI that should be used responsibly and is being used continuously irresponsibly. It's just being used wherever. It's like, oh, let's just have everything be run by AI. This idea is floating around out there. That's a dangerous idea. That's a really dangerous idea. I know this is just a hobby we're talking about, but, you know, this kind of idea can grow from the hobby and into other places. So, and you know they're not going to stop there, because we already know that WotC is going to make this into a larger scheme of microtransactions and loot boxes and all other forms of neat little corporatizations of the hobby, just to suck out every little cent that their players have. So don't buy into their bullshit. You know, stick with your friends, sit behind a table, play with your GMs. If you have a shitty GM, get rid of them, find another GM. You know, we might be a dying breed when it comes to, you know, the ones that actually know what they're doing and don't want to abuse their power behind the table. I feel like this is, you know, we are slowly shrinking in that regard, but I think if we get more people into the hobby and actually teach them how the hobby is played and what it's all about, I believe we can turn this around. It's just a question of how many of us want this. So that's all I have to say for my little rant. And if you're interested in what I do, this aside from making these videos, I actually am a TTRPG developer myself. I've made my own games. Links to all of that is in the videos and in the channel descriptions. So, and in this video description, if you don't want to subscribe, but I would love it if you could like, sub, do all the things, share, whatever it is you want to do. Yeah, that's it for me for now, and I will see you next time.